They always said she was the sweet sister, the perfect wife, the one who knew how to cook, smile, take care of everyone, and be desired. Meanwhile, I was the unstable single one, the one who couldn't get anyone, the one who needed to figure herself out. And every time I visited them, he would look at me, never said anything, but I could tell, the way his eyes lingered on my neckline, his silence when I spoke. He listened. She didn't. And that's when I asked myself, why did she have everything, even him, when I was always the one who knew how to appreciate things? I didn't steal anyone. I just took what was always mine by right. Yes, I was the other woman, the older sister. And no, I don't regret it. If that already made you hold your breath, you'll understand why by the end. I grew up watching Emma get everything handed to her on a silver platter. The attention, the compliments, the boyfriends who fell at her feet like autumn leaves. Meanwhile, I was the one with the sharp tongue, the cutting wit, the one who made people uncomfortable with my intelligence. Victoria's so intense, they'd whisper. Emma's such a sweetheart, they'd coo. When she brought Marcus home for the first time, I knew exactly what was happening. Another trophy for little Emma's collection. But this one was different. Marcus had depth, intelligence, ambition. He was wasted on her vanilla existence. I watched them at family dinners, at holiday gatherings, at their perfect little suburban barbecues. She'd chatter about her day teaching kindergarten, her voice like cotton candy, sweet but ultimately empty, and Marcus would nod politely, smile at the right moments, play the devoted husband. But I saw the way his eyes glazed over, the way he'd excuse himself to check his phone, the way he'd find reasons to step outside to escape her suffocating sweetness. I was working in corporate law by then, successful, independent, dangerous, everything Emma wasn't. And when I'd sit across from him at their dining table, I could feel the electricity, the way he'd actually engage when I spoke about cases, about strategy, about the real world beyond Emma's bubble. His pupils would dilate when I leaned forward to make a point. His breath would catch when I'd brush past him in their narrow hallway. Emma never noticed. She was too busy being perfect. The first time was almost an accident. Emma had to leave early for some parent-teacher conference. Marcus offered to drive me home since we'd been drinking wine. We sat in his car outside my apartment building, and I could feel the tension crackling between us like a live wire. "You know," I said, turning to face him, "you're much too intelligent for suburban mediocrity." He laughed, but it was hollow. "Emma's a good woman." "Good," I repeated, letting the word hang in the air like smoke. "Is that what you want? Good?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I leaned across the console and kissed him. He kissed back. We sat there afterward, breathing hard, the weight of what we'd done settling between us. "This can't happen again," he whispered. "Of course not," I agreed, knowing it was a lie, knowing he was already mine. It took 3 weeks before he called. Emma was at her book club, the one where they spent more time drinking wine than discussing literature. He showed up at my door with takeout and a bottle of expensive scotch. "I can't stop thinking about you," he confessed. "I know," I said, because I did know. I'd seen the way he looked at me at Emma's birthday party the week before, the way he'd found excuses to stand near me, to brush against me when he thought no one was watching. That night, I showed him what passion actually felt like, what it meant to be with a woman who challenged him, who matched his intensity, who didn't shrink from his darker impulses. Emma had never seen him the way I did, hungry, desperate, alive. She'd tamed him into her perfect suburban husband, but I unleashed the man he actually was. We started meeting regularly, always at my place, always when Emma was safely occupied with her little life. He'd arrive looking guilty and leave looking satisfied. And I was finally getting what I deserved. The irony wasn't lost on me. Emma, who'd always gotten everything so easily, was finally losing something important. And she didn't even know it yet. Seems cruel? Maybe. But some wounds deserve eternal scars. I made sure our affair had substance. This wasn't just about sex, though that was certainly a revelation for Marcus. This was about intellectual connection, about understanding, about the kind of partnership Emma could never provide. We'd lie in bed afterward, discussing philosophy, politics, the books Emma pretended to read but never understood. She thinks Nietzsche is a type of cheese, Marcus said one evening, and we both laughed. It was cruel, but it was true. I started showing up at their house more often, playing the supportive sister, the spinster aunt, who had nothing better to do than insert herself into their perfect life. Emma welcomed me with open arms, grateful for my attention, my apparent newfound interest in her happiness. She had no idea I was there to claim what was mine. I'd watch Marcus across their dinner table, remembering how he'd groaned my name just hours before. I'd see him glance at Emma with barely concealed irritation when she'd interrupt his stories with her vapid observations. And I'd smile, knowing that every day, every interaction, every moment of domestic bliss was slowly poisoning their marriage. The game became intoxicating. Sitting next to Emma while she gushed about Marcus's latest promotion, knowing I'd been the one who'd helped him prepare for the presentation that secured it. Listening to her complain about his late nights at the office, knowing he'd been with me, watching her plan their anniversary dinner, knowing he'd rather be anywhere else. She started noticing the changes eventually. Marcus seems distant lately, she confided in me one afternoon over coffee. Men go through phases, I assured her, patting her hand with false sympathy. He's probably just stressed about work. Maybe we should take a vacation, she mused. Reconnect? I almost laughed. You can't reconnect what was never truly connected. Marcus grew bolder. He'd text me during their date nights, telling me how boring dinner conversation was. He'd call me from their bedroom while she showered, his voice hushed and urgent. He'd touch me at family gatherings, quick brushes of his fingers against mine when passing drinks, lingering hugs that lasted just a moment too long. I knew it was only a matter of time before Emma discovered us. Part of me wanted her to. Part of me wanted to see her perfect world crumble, to watch her realize that her devoted husband preferred her sharp-tongued sister. The end came sooner than expected. Emma came home early from her girls' night out. We'd been careless, drunk on wine and each other. She walked into her living room to find us on her couch, Marcus's shirt unbuttoned, my dress pushed up around my waist. The sound she made, it wasn't quite a scream, wasn't quite a gasp. It was the sound of a world ending. Marcus jumped up, stammering apologies, explanations that made no sense, but I just straightened my dress and smiled. "Hello, Emma," I said calmly. "We need to talk." She didn't cry right away. She stood there in her own living room, looking between us like she couldn't quite process what she was seeing. "How long?" she whispered. 6 months, I said before Marcus could lie. 6 months, she repeated, like she was trying to translate a foreign language. Marcus tried to explain, tried to make it sound like a mistake, a moment of weakness, but I interrupted him. "It wasn't a mistake," I said. "It was inevitable." Emma's face crumpled then, not with anger, but with understanding. She'd always known on some level that she wasn't enough for him. The divorce was swift and brutal. Marcus got a lawyer, Emma got a therapist. I got exactly what I wanted. He tried to come to me afterward, thinking we'd continue our affair in the open, but I wasn't interested in being anyone's consolation prize. I'd already won. The victory wasn't in keeping Marcus. The victory was in proving that everything Emma had was borrowed time, that her sweetness, her goodness, her perfect life were all just illusions. That when faced with real passion, real connection, real woman, she lost. Today, Emma pretends to be fine. She's dating again, some bland accountant who brings her flowers and opens doors. She's in therapy, working through her trust issues. She's joined a gym, bought new clothes, changed her hair. She's doing everything the self-help books tell her to do. But I see the cracks, the way she flinches when couples show affection in public, the way she checks her phone obsessively when she's on dates, the way she looks at me at family gatherings, not with anger, but with fear. Fear that I might take something else from her. Marcus married someone else eventually, a colleague from his law firm, someone ambitious and sharp-tongued, someone more like me than Emma. He learned his lesson about settling for sweetness. People say Emma is so strong now, so brave for rebuilding her life, so inspiring for finding love again. But I know the truth. I know that every time she looks in the mirror, she sees the woman who wasn't enough. I know that every time she kisses her new boyfriend, she wonders if he's thinking about someone else. I know that every time she trusts, there's a voice in her head asking if she's being naive again. She pretends to be whole, but I see the fractures, the hairline cracks in her perfect facade, the way she overcompensates now, trying to be more interesting, more exciting, more worthy. And every time someone says, "Your sister is so strong," I smile. Because only I know who really broke her. She thinks she's recovered. She thinks she's moved on. She thinks she's forgiven me. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And some betrayals echo forever. I didn't just take her husband. I took her ability to trust completely. I took her belief in her own worth. I took her certainty that she deserved good things. That's the real victory. Not the affair itself, but the permanent damage. The way she'll always wonder if she's enough. The way she'll always question other people's motives. The way she'll always be looking over her shoulder, waiting for the next betrayal. Some people might call me a monster. They might say I destroyed an innocent woman's life out of jealousy and spite. They might be right. But I prefer to think of myself as a truth teller. Emma lived in a fantasy where good things happened to good people, where love was enough, where being sweet and kind and perfect guaranteed happiness. I simply showed her reality. Love isn't enough. Good things don't always happen to good people. And sometimes the person who destroys you is someone you trust completely. She needed to learn these lessons, and I was the only one willing to teach them. In the end, I did her a favor. She's stronger now, more realistic, more prepared for the cruelties of the world. She'll never be that naive again. She pretends to be whole, but I know the truth. I know that every happy moment is tinged with the fear that it might be taken away. Every relationship is shadowed by the memory of betrayal. Every success is undercut by the knowledge that she's not as special as she once believed. And that knowledge, that's my real gift to her. The gift of seeing the world as it really is. Brutal, unfair, competitive. A place where the ruthless survive and the naive get crushed. She'll never thank me for it. But someday, when she's older and wiser and more cynical, she'll understand. I didn't destroy her life. I revealed it. The sweet sister, the perfect wife, the woman who had everything. She was always an illusion. I just pulled back the curtain, and if you think that makes me the villain, well, every good story needs one. And I've always preferred being honest to being liked. Emma's living her new life now, and I'm living mine. The difference is, I'm living it with my eyes wide open, while she's still trying to convince herself that happy endings are possible. They're not. But the beautiful thing about reality is that once you accept it, you can start playing by its rules. And I've always been very good at winning games. So here's to the villains, the ones who tell uncomfortable truths, the ones who refuse to pretend that life is fair, the ones who take what they want instead of waiting for it to be given. We're not the heroes of anyone's story, but we're the ones who survive. And sometimes that's enough. She pretends to be whole, but I see the cracks. And I know that every time she looks at me, she remembers. Not just what I took from her, but what I revealed about her. That she was never as special as she thought. That her perfect life was built on foundations of sand. That love, kindness, and goodness are no match for ambition, desire, and the willingness to take what you want. Some might call that a tragedy. I call it education. And the lesson is this. In a world where everyone is fighting for happiness, the ones who fight the hardest are the ones who win. The ones who play by the rules, who wait their turn, who believe in fairness. They're the ones who end up with nothing. Emma learned that lesson the hard way, but she learned it. And now she knows. The sweet sister, the perfect wife, the woman who deserved everything. She was always just a story she told herself. I simply wrote a different ending. And if that makes me the villain, Well, at least I'm an honest one. Because the truth is, we're all villains in someone's story. The only difference is whether we're willing to admit it. I am. And that's why I won.